And do you know how to articulate what you value?
I mean, I'm still like figuring that out, but there are some things that definitely pop into my mind.
Do you want to be more specific?
Sure. Yeah. Like I value connecting with other people. I value doing the things that I want to do because for so long that was not an option. I value exploring things and like being curious about things and growing professionally. So those are kind of some advanced family.
Yeah, those are all great examples. And what I really like about the way that you're saying them is they're not a particular goal. And I can imagine that they don't have specific criteria. So it's not like a checklist that you have to cross off in any given behavior, but in times that you feel anxious and you want to avoid or you want to do an anxiety-driven behavior, if you can just orient yourself back to like, actually, I want to be connected, let me do the thing that's vulnerable, that is like helping guide your actions rather than anxiety.
Definitely, yes, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, that was well described. Do you want to say more about other OCD content areas you've had? So you're talking about contamination, you've talked about harm OCD, you've talked about social anxiety related to judgment and embarrassment.
I think one thing that I found helpful also is you talked about moods in this podcast before, and like I've been tracking my mood, just kind of see certain patterns. I found that helpful in like especially dealing with anger or sadness. Like I've been checking in with myself more about where I'm at, why I might be feeling something. I found that helpful.
What are you learning about yourself as you track?
I think one thing is I can be more comfortable in those like what would be considered negative emotions. Like I think I always wanted to just move really fast past anger, like distract myself or sadness I didn't want to deal with. And like I can kind of sit in it and ask myself why I feel that. Like I understand myself a little bit more in doing so, and I can act on it. Like last time I was feeling sad, it's because something like there's something I wanted, and I wanted to. Like I think in the past I wouldn't have expressed that out loud. Like I might be concerned about how it would land if I asked this person for that thing, or I have to ask for it in a certain way, and then I just ask for it, and it felt good to ask. Like it felt good to be curious first, and then to do the action that would solve
A lot of times people talk about how painful a feeling like sadness is and then how difficult it is to be assertive. And you're talking about it like it was rewarding or empowering. Can you tell how you got from the place where it was really difficult to be assertive to where it's empowering to be assertive?
it. Yeah, I think one it was just taking that leap of faith of trying it. Like there were certain things that I wanted to share, and I shared them in group, and because the group was really supportive environment, it went really well. So like I had that success, and then I wanted to try it more in my personal life, and that had success as well. So I think it's just for me experimentation, like what works for me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it also sounds like when you're experimenting, you're not, are you expecting a particular outcome?
There are times where I definitely am, and like I'll feel upset that I didn't get that afterwards. But then there's times where like, all right, that's an opportunity to explore why is this upsetting me. Um, so it's kind of like if I ask one question, then I'm going to ask several questions afterwards and ask more questions after that. It's kind of just exploring.
Yeah, great. I like what you're saying about, I think that's a value for you too. So your values are connecting, they're being curious, they're exploring and experimenting. It seems like a real shift from being afraid and being avoidant. When you were more afraid and avoidant, do you know what your values were at that time, or do you think that you were just a lot of your behavior was anxiety driven?
Can you rephrase that for me?
Sure. Um, well, when people are not as in touch with their values, and their behavior is avoidant and anxiety driven, sometimes they have beliefs like it's better to stay comfortable, it's better to stay safe, doing something that could be embarrassing is not worthwhile. So I'm just checking in about, do you remember having beliefs like that?
Absolutely, yes. That was very much, I think, what drove my actions. Like, I don't want to feel uncomfortable. I don't want to feel embarrassed. I'm just not going to do the thing.
And then how did you switch? I guess you're kind of saying this, but how did you switch to, I want to explore and experiment and sit with uncomfortable feelings if they happen to arise?
Yeah, I think it was like a series of successes. Like, I even think back, like, on the early work we do with contamination as part of my journey across to get here. I'm like, I did the thing that was uncomfortable, and then that belief that I had of like of having to avoid it kind of goes away, and that applied to something else. And then I kind of connected the dots and said that can really apply to absolutely everything. So now I just view it very, very different. Like, the first question is always, why am I trying to avoid it? Like, what does this do for me? And then what would happen if I like change that? Like, if I don't want to avoid doing this podcast, like, what's the benefit that I would get out of challenging that and going in a different direction? Like, the benefit is like, know how to share my story a little bit better. And like, maybe I'm not sharing it great now, but if I get the chance to share it next time, I'll share it a bit better and change it next time. So that's kind of my process now.
Yes, that's really great.